Hi, I'm Lieke and this is our van Sunny, and in this video we are going to show you how we converted it from a tin top to a pop top.
When we bought our van Sunny, we already knew that we eventually would want a pop top on it. Our inspiration was this blue van that we actually traveled to Norway with. The pop top that we're going to install is a Mosaik Westfalia pop top. The Mosaik roof was originally an aftermarket top that you could put on the van, like we're doing right now. On a German website called Westagon, I'll put a link in the description, we found a template that we could use to cut out the holes that we needed for this conversion. We needed to align the template accordingly, so we drew a middle line on the van so that we could position it correctly. We were lucky enough to have a reference car so that we could see if all the measurements were correct and positioned correctly as well. So we found, for example, that the template that we had actually had a smaller hole than the cutout that we needed. We could use the frame that would go with the Mosaik roof to check how it would look on the inside. There were actually these support beams that we could use for reference for the size. Despite some advice online, we first tried to cut the hole with a grinder. That is not advisable. We quickly switched to using a jigsaw, which would work way better and faster. It did have some trouble in the corners sometimes, but in the end it worked out well. And now we have a cabrio. The hole in the roof is out of the car. We had to go back and forth a few times to make the frame fit, but in the end it worked. Unfortunately, we weren't done yet. A lot of the work still had to happen. The rear hinges still needed to be drilled and positioned on the car. We were lucky enough to have this other car for reference that we could use to drill the holes. Otherwise we could have used a template, of course, but this was a little bit more convenient. Because this is not an original Westfalia build, you will need some support for the rear hinges. These brackets can be bought online as well, where we also bought the template. They needed just a little bit of modification to work. As a next step, we cleaned the hinges so we could position them on the van.
We run into a tiny little problem because the hinges that we have are not for the Mosaik roof that we have. So we need to modify them just a little bit. As you can see here on the camera, they're not straight up. I'm not sure how well you can see it. But yeah, so we're now trying to bend them a little because the Westfalia original ones are 100 degrees and we need it to be 105 degrees for our modified roof. So that's what we're doing.
When we were satisfied with how the hinges looked, we could try out the roof actually on the van for the first time. Now these roofs are quite heavy, so you'll need at least a few people to lift it onto the van. Now that almost looks professionally finished. At the same time we were preparing the frame to go into the cutout on the rooftop. The frame was a little bent and didn't work perfectly for this cutout, so we adjusted it a little bit to make it work. And we weren't there when it was finally finished, but this is the video that we received afterwards from Wim and Arjen.
So for the luggage rack we're not going to use a template probably. We are just going to see how it fits. So on the back you see 4 places where you can screw it. So that's a great reference point actually. And from there we're going to do something that we hope will work. We're going to tape the brackets with double-sided tape so that we put it down using the reference points of the hinge on the back or the bolts on the back. Then we hope that we can make it stick to there, unscrew it, lift it, and hopefully the brackets will then still be on the top and we can screw them from there in the exact correct place. Well, that's the plan. We'll see how it works.
For the luggage rack we went back to measuring and taping and comparing it to the other van. And then it was time to lift the luggage rack onto the van for the very first time. Somehow the taping method worked quite well. except that the brackets were a little bent, so they weren't fully symmetrical. Of course, we did want the holes to be fully symmetrical, so we adjusted it a little bit. So technically, the roof now fits on top of the van. We now just have to clean it a little bit.
So today I'm getting started on the roof. We need to clean some things up. And the inside of the ceiling is a bit moldy, so we also want to clean that. We also have this sealant which needs to come off. And I'm going to sand it so we can fully prep it for painting. When there are some larger chunks left, that's actually quite satisfying when they come off completely. But the rest just sucks, to be honest. As an impatient person, I would say that this is looking quite good. So I'm going to go to the next part, which is cleaning all the fabric that's on the inside of the roof. And then I'll see what the rest of the guys fix. So one thing to be careful about, there are a few spots like this, and if you hit them with the pressure washer, well, they're gonna get a little bit bigger. So this is quite contained still, but ideally I wouldn't hit those places with the pressure washer. Would you look at that? Joost and Wim were kind enough to help me turn around. So now we can do the upside, see how clean it gets. Woo! Now, would you look at that? I think it's all finished for today. At least it's cleaned for today. So tonight we're going to fix all the cracks in the roof that we think are necessary. But for now, look at this result. Ta-da! Now when you first see this, you could be like, oh, why are we even fixing this? But look at this. And you can see also this little scratch part. I don't know what happened to the roof because it's, well, it's secondhand and it's not ours from the beginning. But something definitely happened here to scrape it, and hopefully the paint will fill it up nicely. So one of our biggest challenges still is this crack here. It's completely through, so we need to fix that. The idea now is to use an aluminum strip and then fill it up with epoxy resin, and hopefully that will fix it up for good. Yeah, so now that the roof is clean, you can see it pretty well, but here's a part that just won't come off. And here's another strip that won't come off. And nothing we do seems to be working so far. But we'll keep hope and keep trying. So Joost, what's your professional opinion about this sealant?
Well, it is sticking pretty well, that's for sure, which I guess is a good thing, but for now I don't like it very much.
While we were cleaning the last bits of silicone tape from the van, Wim and Ian started on repairing the roof with glass fiber. In order to support the big crack on the roof, we also made some aluminum strips to support the cracks that we would fill up with epoxy later, in the hopes that they wouldn't crack again.
Good morning. As you can see, it has hardened quite a bit. It's still a little bit flexible, but it is pretty strong. So we have now done the inside. We can now continue with the outside.
So it's the next day and we're gonna see how the epoxy dried. And I think it looks very good. So we can sand it and then we can finally start painting with pop top. So I'm starting out with very low grit, about 80. And slowly I'm moving up to a lower grit to get it as fine as possible. Okay, so we're finally ready to paint. For the painting we're going to use this pre-coat, which we see everybody using, so we're gonna copy that. And yeah, let's see how it will turn out.
Okay, so today we're gonna apply the last layer of paint. My parents were so kind to do the previous layer. We used the International Interdeck paint for this. It works very well, as you can see in the video. So yeah, very curious how it will turn out in the end.
The transformation truly is incredible. It looks fully as if it came just out of the shop. Perfect.
We're almost there. Today we're just gonna do the finishing touches of putting the rubbers on there and then hopefully also the tent. So yeah, we're almost there. Really excited.
When we tried the rubber on, it unfortunately had a little bit of leftover, but we were able to fix that later by readjusting the rubber. Now we were ready to fit the new tent in. For this we looked up some tutorials online on how to attach the tent. They're quite elaborative and good to follow. Now on to the final details. We also fully refurbished the handles that would go on top of the luggage rack. Now with the tent attached and the roof fully painted, we could position it onto the van for the last time.
Hey,
Comfortable?
pretty much, yeah.
As a finishing touch, we attached the lock that would enable us to close the roof. With the tent attached to the lifting part of the roof, we now had to attach the tent to the van itself. This was undoubtedly the hardest part of the tent installation. The roof we bought didn't come with the window, so we had to install that later. Luckily, my dad was available to help me out in this one.
The roof is we're super happy about this because we're this is it. This is the moment we've been working towards for a few for 6 months actually. So it's been quite a while, but we're finally there. As you'll see in the video, you'll see how we got to this point, what works and what things we encountered still. Thanks for following us on our journey while we install it, and hopefully these videos will help you too. If you're doing something like this. We noticed that we couldn't find any videos about this when we were looking for it, so hopefully this will help some others that are planning to do the same conversion. Would we do it again? It is easy to buy a van with the roof already on, but I'm super happy that we did this one.
And with that, it is time to end our compilation video. Now for full explanations and a little bit more elaboration, you can watch the other videos. We have a playlist for them on our channel. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps us to continue this journey. See you next time!